Hey, so this is for those of you who are thinking about starting martial arts training, but you don't know what to begin with. Well, the best thing for you to do is not to get stuck in one style, because once you get stuck in one style, then it's really hard for you to get out. So what I would suggest is do what I did, which was to start, with Jeet Kune Do. Now, Jeet Kune Do is the philosophy that Bruce Lee, originated. It's not necessarily a style, but again, it is a philosophy. It's a way of thinking. It's a way of seeing things. The difference is that when you are learning the ways of Jeet Kune Do, you're not saying to the other styles, no, I can't do Taekwondo, I can't do karate, I can't do wrestling, I can't do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. No, you're saying, oh yeah, I'll do some of that, and I'll do some of that, and I'll do some of that, and I'll do some of that. That's what Jeet Kune Do is. Again, it's a philosophy. It is not a style. A lot of people think that Bruce Lee, what does an actor know about that? You guys gotta remember that he was a philosopher major, and at the University of Seattle, because he was into philosophy. He was a philosopher, like a good Sagittarius. But it was about thinking higher. It's like, I know this baseline, but I want to go higher than that. And he realized that a lot of styles had their strengths and weaknesses. But the one thing that they always left out was the individual. You will become a product as someone joining a particular style or getting into a particular style, like let's say, for instance, wrestling. And again, I'm not knocking wrestling, but for instance, when I was taking martial arts, when I was taking Jeet Kune Do, because in that school, they also had other disciplines like boxing and kickboxing, because again, that's what Jeet Kune Do does. It gives you availability to all these different styles, because that's what Jeet Kune Do emphasizes, a fluidity between all styles, okay? Because it is the individual who is actually, meant to perform it, the individual. So it's you doing all the styles instead of the styles doing you, okay? So I noticed that my fellow wrestler, or the guys who wrestle in high school, you have a certain build, wrestlers. But again, Jeet Kune Do will teach you how to love all the other styles. And what I love about wrestlers is the diligence and their work ethic. I mean, these guys are strong because they gotta lift other human beings, they have to flip them and stuff like that. And so they develop a lot of strength, tensile strength, like tendon strength, muscle strength. Their muscles are so dense. I mean, I think they're a lot denser than a bodybuilder's, okay? A bodybuilder's muscles are just for show, but a wrestler's muscles, I mean, these guys, I just think about somebody who can lift a bull. That's how I visualize them, because they have to lift human beings. They have to flip them and they have to control them. So they build a lot of tensile strength. But because of that intensity too, it doesn't help them in doing other disciplines, like being, for instance, a jiu-jitsu fighter, a Brazilian jiu-jitsu fighter. Okay, because first of all, as a wrestler, you're supposed, being on your back is a big no-no. It's like, no, I put you on your back. I'm supposed to pin you on your back. But a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighter, it's a lot more efficient when he's on his back. So for a wrestler to want to be on his back, it's like, no. It's like, I can't do that. It's really hard for the wrestlers to, it's possible, of course, but it's really hard to go from one philosophy to another one, from one way of doing things, which is to be completely intense, to be completely relaxed and on your back. See, I'm intense and I gotta put you on your back. But instead of, going on your back and being completely relaxed, I mean, A jiu-jitsu fighter is like think of an octopus. An octopus doesn't get tense, but it just rubs around you, and all of a sudden you can't breathe. That's basically a jiu-jitsu fighter. Okay, but so that's now the drawbacks of being a ground fighter is that it gets really difficult for you to have stand-up skills. Again, it's possible, but when you are this is all you know, it's like trying to walk on water. It's all of a sudden this foreign terrain that is really hard to get into. So that's what I'm trying to illustrate here, that it's like in religion. Somebody who was raised in a particular religion can have a really hard time of seeing other ways of thinking, other ways of seeing spirituality. Let's say, for instance, somebody who was, raised Catholic like me, and be introduced to the concepts of Buddhism. It's like, completely foreign. It's a lot of the concepts are the same, but, many other things, can throw you off because this is all you were raised Catholic, so it makes it hard to see other points of view because you were raised on something else. It's the same example that I always give, which is jazz. Jazz is the same thing as Jeet Kune Do, because jazz gives, again, the player freedom to play whatever they want. This was the marriage of schooled musicians and unschooled musicians. The schooled musicians, they couldn't play anything, that wasn't on a piece of paper. And the guys who played by ear, these guys, the unschooled musicians, they could play anything, but they couldn't play anything on a piece of paper, right? So it was like these guys gave them structure, and these guys taught each other, basically. These guys taught these guys how to play freely, how to just play with your heart. And that's what jazz is about. It's about improvisational. It's about having no boundaries. And Jeet Kune Do is the same way. This is why I'm suggesting it to you, because if you want complete freedom, go the Jeet Kune Do route. Not because I'm an instructor in it, and I've practiced it all my life, over 20, maybe 25 years. But again, it's because I felt that freedom, and I saw the difficulty that my buddies that were in the same martial arts school, but they weren't instructed in Jeet Kune Do, or they didn't know the concepts of Jeet Kune Do, that is freedom, right? But they were very much stuck into their own styles. And the guys who were, wrestlers had a really hard time being boxers, and the guys who were boxers had a really hard time being wrestlers. You know what I mean? So to avoid all those problems, go the route of Jeet Kune Do. It'll give you freedom, and it'll give you access to all the martial arts. Again, it's not about excluding the other martial arts. Again, I'm not knocking the other martial arts. I'm saying that in Jeet Kune Do, you get a taste of all of them. You get a taste of Filipino martial arts. You get a taste of, Vale Tudo. You get a taste of boxing, Muay Thai kickboxing, or French Savate kickboxing, or Taekwondo kickboxing, or karate moves, wrestling, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you name it. Why? Because the philosophy of Jeet Kune Do is not to exclude or to only do this or do that. The philosophy is do what works for you. You see, so if you're a jazz player and you're asked to improvise, you cannot, I have to only stay within this style. It's like, no, improvising means do whatever suits you, whatever you feel like it. And when you're in a fight, in a situation that you're going to have to go from many positions, you can end up on the floor, you have multiple attackers, you need fluidity. And you can't be stuck on boxing, and you can't be stuck on just ground fighting skills. You have to be able to be fluid from one thing in another, So again, like a jazz player, just being able to improvise on the spot. Freedom is most emphasized in Jeet Kune Do. So I hope that answers your question. Jeet Kune Do is not a style, it's a philosophy. think about it and feel about it.